Hey guys, welcome back to another weekend astrology. If you have been tuning in and really like these so far, please consider contributing to my work, paypal.me/tarot, and then the word forming. So FORMING. Any donations are helpful. I do spend quite a bit of time putting this content out for you guys, and I hope that it's been, really insightful during these stay-home times where we're wondering, what the hell is really going on in the grand scheme of things. And if you donate any amount, I will send you your own animal tarot card with its very own special message. So if you're interested in doing that, please reach out. I'll put the link in the description for this video. Without further ado, welcome to our weekend. So we are going to be talking about September 18th through the 20th. We are wrapping up Virgo season here. This is the last weekend of Virgo energy. And how does it feel? Do we feel like, we are tired, we're stressed, we're overworked, or are we finding peace within? That is a question you really want to ask yourself right now have you been taking on too much with that mutable energy and Mercury moving so fast this season, just trying to do it all, not necessarily successful, but the mental state is there, the focus is there, I personally feel like, I've been trying my best to keep up. Mars going retro kind of slowed us down. We talked about that in the last couple of videos. We'll continually see that because it's in a very tough position, making a square with specifically Saturn. So it really has to do a lot with the work that we're doing, not really able to move forward quite yet. The projects that we're taking on, kind of the bigger things that are going to have a longer lasting impact for us. We are kind of going back to the drawing board, so to speak. We're revisiting the structure, we're revisiting, what are the goals that we set out to do the first time, and are they accomplishable? I don't think that's a word, but so some big stuff there. It's natural to feel a little less energized when Mars goes retro. This weekend is really about the moon in Libra and the moon in Scorpio. So it's going to be spending the majority of its time moving through those two signs. I do want to start off by saying we just got through a Virgo new moon. It happened, today is Thursday, and it happened early this morning. So we're still feeling, how we're self-improving. That's really Virgo-oriented energy. It's about our health, not just physical, but mental health too. And so if you've had to take a mental health day this week, to just unplug, to just go into hermit mode, to maybe just not be around anybody, that is like very, very normal when we're working with this energy, and very necessary because when we have that Virgo energy, it feels like we need to help everybody around us, and we can't really do that all the time, or even most of the time. We have to help ourselves first. So it can be challenging to work with because we want to be the provider, the caregiver, to give advice, to, pick up the slack, all of that stuff. And so that can really take a toll on us. And so hopefully we found good ways to either push back obligations or to say no to them altogether, because sometimes that's what we have to do, it's a challenge in itself, but ultimately I feel like there are a lot of like little things that happen in Virgo season that kind of remind us like, okay, things are working. It's not super exciting, it's not fire energy, but things are moving. and slow progress is progress. And so just remind that to yourself. If you've been extra hard on yourself, if you've been very critical, of yourself and the others around you, it's important to just kind of be thankful. And Jupiter going direct has been given us a chance to appreciate our situations, to appreciate it could always be worse. And there are parts of the world that are surely struggling with that. I mean, India, I was just looking at the numbers for coronavirus, and they are skyrocketing over there. And just think of like how little room they have to avoid people, to avoid each other. They don't have the proper hygiene standards or medical standards that we would have in the United States. And so it really puts things into perspective and be like, okay, I do have work to do. I am getting paid. I am in a pretty decent living situation. So tell yourself those things like, there is great reminders that, that we're doing okay. And that's what the new moon is about, is finding new ways to look at things. It's not always about physically doing something, but it's really about almost taking a different vantage point. And when you do, usually opportunities arise because you're seeing things through a different lens. And so, this starts a great new 6-month period for us until we get to the Virgo full moon. And it'll be Pisces season, so it's probably late February that you'll see that wrapping up. And that's a very, very exciting thing, because I do, if you guys have been watching, have high hopes for Aquarius season, which is the season right before. So I really hope, when we get to that Virgo full moon, that we've really, really been doing the best work. We're really in like a great standing to lifting ourselves up and to helping the world see the problems, but also the solutions. That's what Virgo likes to do too. It wants to give advice, it wants to help. And so I think when we get to that full moon, we'll see that there is a lot of help out there. People are working in the background, behind the scenes, especially in the medical industry. I'm sure they're overwhelmed still. This has been going on for months, and they've been staying strong, not complaining, just continually being of service. And so we need to ask ourselves, like, am I being of service in the best way to my community, to the people in my life, at work? Am I making myself available to help when help is needed? Things like that. So those are some, little deep question homework for you guys to manifest or meditate on, sorry. Pushing the Virgo new moon aside, this weekend, has a lot to do with love, obviously romance. Libra and Scorpio rule those two things very well. The moon in Libra is going to be conjuncting Mercury, so those are going to be side by side on Friday, which brings a lot of social fun. So you can expect like some friend time, maybe a little excursion now that Jupiter is direct, but not a big trip of any kind necessarily, but maybe a vacation, a weekend vacation, a weekend getaway. Moon in Libra wants to spend, but wants to enjoy what it's spending. So we're looking at like, the spas, the haircuts, the best food, just really zhuzhing up your social media, lots of that stuff. So heavy communication equals more interaction, because we have to have someone to talk to. So, and then Libra really represents the relationships that you have in your life, and not just romantic. There's many other relationships that we care about in our lives that are outside of love. And, Mercury stepping in really amplifies those less romantic attachments that we have. So, but people that really get us, that feel like we're on the same page, You're really jiving, maybe even feeling a little flirty. So, um, yeah, you may even be talking to somebody um, that maybe you didn't hit it off in the first time, but like they've come back around and maybe you're feeling a little better about the situation or just about yourself, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna run with this chat and just see where it goes. It's a little exciting. And yeah, so Friday, isn't too bad. Coming out of that Virgo new moon, we're still feeling the effects going into the weekend. And so it's not like we can drop everything and enjoy Moon and Libra energy. That's not the case, but it does make it easier to enjoy stuff when we've been working so hard, which is what Virgo is about. So maybe the few enjoyments that we do have, we really do get to like relax into, and so it's not about like keep continually planning for like the next adventure or the next thing. It's like being present in the space that you're in, and that's what you want to exist in. So air signs, they like to look ahead, they like to just keep going, they want the fun to just never stop, they want the social hour to never stop. These are like the kind of people that just keep the Zoom call going and going a couple drinks in or whatever. And yeah, so I do want to talk about, whenever we talk about Mercury, there's good and bad to it, but it's not really Mercury's fault this time. The cardinal signs, right now, we are continually seeing huge square aspects too. Because what is playing out in Capricorn, which is a cardinal sign, is going to be happening for a while longer. Those are very slow moving planets in there. Jupiter is making it a little easier, but Saturn and Pluto are really, really changing things up for us. I've talked about this extensively. It is still going to be a topic of focus going into the new year because it is so unprecedented what is happening. We haven't seen for hundreds of years, and why it's so significant to Americans specifically is that this is the exact placement that America was founded on in 1776. Around that time, that's when Pluto and Saturn had met up in the sign of Capricorn the last time. That's really how long it takes for these planets to move. Pluto being the slowest because it's the outermost. And so that's why it's so significant to us particularly, and that's why we're going to see the heaviest change. And I feel like as a country, we are usually the beacon of like change and innovation, or just being in the limelight for the rest of the world. We're kind of always looked to for that kind of leadership. Not that we usually have the best leadership, especially nowadays. So we are expecting huge changes on that front. People in power, the government, how it's operated, the way we've been doing business for so long is changing dramatically. So don't be hard on yourself if you feel like this, you really like the way things have been and you're not quite ready to step into a whole new world. The transition is gradual, but it is happening. So please try to see like what the benefits of that would be. Life is going to be a lot more simplified in a lot of aspects and a lot more equalized. So people have the same amount of access, the same amount of resources. That's the Aquarian energy that we're really taking on. And yeah, but going back to the cardinal energy, with all the Capricorn stuff happening, and then Mars stuck in Aries and retro, which is really slowing it down, moving it backwards. When we get Libra or Cancer, it's going to be squaring those things, or opposite. And, those are really tough aspects in astrology, because they create friction. They almost create problems for us. And if you're somebody that is very hopeful and optimistic about problems because, they eventually lead to solutions, which can lead to growth. not just for yourself, but for both parties or the situation, if it's, work related or love related. But yes, like problems arise when we see squares and opposition because opposition, you're dealing with stuff that is not of yourself. It is opposite to you. And so it naturally has this antagonistic kind of energy to it. But opposites also attract. We're curious about opposites because we don't know it for ourselves. And so while it may seem very different, there's something alluring about it. And that's, a lot that has to do with the Libra energy that falls in what's called the descendant in your natal chart, your seventh house. Which could be different depending on your rising sign. But in astrology, we look at Venus and Libra energy to tell us, what can complete us by being so different. It's strange and unfamiliar, but it is also very beneficial because it promotes this sense of completion. And so I think, the square more so than the opposition is the more so difficult, like constantly difficult energy to have. Just like challenges arise at work, and at home, I feel like those are two areas of your life where you can't really escape problems. Like they're just always forming. And obviously with loved ones too. So if you look at your 10th house is ruled by Capricorn as work, or the career, like the bigger stuff. Again, making it harder to work with because it's bigger, it's more magnified. The 4th house is your home life, and where your emotions reside. And so there's a constant churn of problems coming up. Ergo, they cause emotions. So, and then 7th house is ruled by Libra, and it's that more of that opposition. But depending on where it is, it could be squaring. If it's in Capricorn or Cancer, it would be squaring Libra energy, and so relationship problems. And so the cardinal energies in the zodiac, and whenever we're talking about a modality, which is cardinal, mutable, and fixed, those are the signs that you're going to struggle with the most. So say you are a Leo, the Scorpios, Tauruses, and Aquariuses out there are going to be the ones that really stop you in your tracks, that you really have to think of a different way to handle them, or there's just a constant friction. There's a constant, almost like learning curve, and you have to continually adapt when you're around those people. And that's because that is a very challenging aspect when you look at those signs. And so that's the easiest way to know kind of who's going to rub you the wrong way, when you know their sun sign, if anything, is like who around you is the same modality but a different sign, and especially like a non-compatible element. So like fire and air work really well together because they fall in opposition, but fire and earth don't work well together, and fire and water don't work well together, and vice versa for all of that. And so, that's always an easy way to kind of do some basic stuff in your mind when you like meet somebody initially, or, you have like a thought when you're just like, man, why do I always struggle with this person? And yeah, so Moon in Libra, while it sounds very fun, flirtatious, is squaring that bigger energy, and that can continually feel like we can't fully enjoy these moments that maybe the moon is trying to provide. Mercury's been trying to provide, moving so fast. The sun has been trying to provide. It's in trine, and now Jupiter. But there is still big stuff at play. So like that back of the mind feeling like, okay, there's still a lot more, and that's why we're not really indulging ourselves in ways that we used to, or enjoying it at least the ways that we used to, because there's so much happening still that is calling our attention, and that is just, like taking almost our personal whims and wishes out of the mix. And we're like, there's a bigger energy at work here, and so it's less about me. And that is preparing you for that Aquarian energy. It is going to feel less about us. It's going to be more about the collective. This is almost like our first lesson into like this new study, like we're just starting to learn like what this energy looks like. It's so foreign to us. It doesn't promote like self-indulgence, selfishness, competitiveness. It's more about equalizing, like being there for everyone, being collective, tapping into what other people around you are thinking, what they're feeling, being of service. That's all very Aquarian energy. Those are the good aspects. But that's kind of what we're changing into. And Capricorn being so long kind of the energy that's been the world has been very self-involved, finding the best place for it to be, and it's usually at the top. And so that ambition has often been something of a malevolent nature for a lot of people. Is like trying to achieve the top status. You take a lot of people down on that road. You do a lot of questionable things, a lot of immoral things to secure that position. And so you have to ask yourself, was all that ambition and all that work really necessary? Because now I'm in fear in this position, because I'm looked at more closely, I'm studied more closely, and now where I'm at, I can't relax, because everybody depends on me. And so we're changing like that route to success and what success is. And it's going to be more about being independent from the system, the government, the things at play in the world, and detaching ourselves from that need to achieve. Aquarius is more so about having insights and inspirations that benefit everybody, not just yourself. And so, that to me is very exciting. It's making things more accessible. Sure, people are still going to be manipulative, especially with Aquarian energy, because they're typically more intellectual, and especially because they look at things in a different way that you might not do. And so they can think outside of the box. They're not really confined by looking at things through the status quo way or the societal way. But it's all very exciting stuff, and it's what we really need to do to move forward with everything, with life. So yeah, getting back into the weekend. So Saturday, Moon opposing Mars. This will be a little tough, Moon, that curiosity is amplified when we look at Mars. It's kind of that kid nature in us. And so it can be bringing out that bratty side this weekend on Saturday specifically, where we are kind of thinking back to how something didn't play out the way we wanted it to. And when we started from the ground running, maybe it was a project that you started and it never took off. Maybe it was, like something that you felt energized about, but it just burned out quickly. And, the moon can bring back our past. And thinking about that stuff is only more amplified when a planet is in retrograde, which Mars is in right now. And so you can be even going back all the way to your birth. Moon is family, Mars is the birth and childhood. And so you might be revisiting some of your roots this weekend. Maybe a relative or somebody that has discovered something about you, and or there's some relation there that you didn't know before. So interesting things, but I do feel like this is going to be a frustrating aspect, just because Mars is still very upset over just recently going retro. It's still going to be a little intense. But it will slow down. Mars does burn out quickly, just like fire energy. So that retrograde, I'm not as worried about as, some of the deeper ones like Uranus or Neptune still. Pluto is, probably the scariest one for sure, now more than ever. But yeah, Moon opposing Mars. And then we have Moon into Scorpio. So I think that transitions maybe Saturday night. So going from Libra to Scorpio, we're moving away from those squares, those really tough cardinal squares that I was talking about. And so I feel like I've said this exact same thing in a week in astrology video, but I'm actually excited that we're getting Scorpio energy. It's not something that I usually look forward to because I'm a fixed Leo sign and that is a square to me. So naturally Scorpio energy can bring out the worst in me. But going from those tough squares to Scorpio, which is a lot less impeded, is easier to some degree. Moon in Scorpio, and then it's going to be opposing Uranus because Uranus is in Taurus, so they're going to be exactly across from each other, Scorpio and Taurus. And that's really about our financial success, how far we've come with it. Are we constantly evolving? Are we growing? Our resources, our investments, and it takes another person managing it or looking at it to kind of help you do that, because that's not the focus for a lot of us. And so we have, realtors to sell our houses. We have bankers to manage our accounts. Those are all very Scorpio in nature because they are possessions that are not your own, but it's your job to manage them. And so Scorpio is a really interesting sign in that aspect, in that it's not about the self and what we've earned, it's about what other people have earned. And when we look at that energy, we can often get envious of other people and what they have. And I feel like that's going to be a big theme for this weekend, seeing what other people have achieved and maybe even how they help out other people. Uranus being of service, like Virgo, being humanitarian, maybe even having really good ideas or inventions, being like, man, why didn't I think of that? Or look how well they've done with this startup or this social media thing. I could do that. Why am I not doing that, kind of a thing? And yeah, so the moon can kind of bring out the worst of us sometimes, but it's not all bad. Like sometimes we do need to kind of look at what's going on around us, and like if we have that thought of like, hey, I could do that, like that's actually a lot easier than it looks or something. This person barely had to lift a finger and now they're making money off of it. It doesn't mean that it's always like right for us, but seeing that there are possibilities out there to achieve maybe what we want, which is similar to what other people have, lets us know like, it is possible. There's a million different ways to do everything, and we just have to find the right ones for ourselves. And so really thinking about that, because Moon will also be squaring Venus just shortly after. Moon moves very fast, so it makes a lot of aspects in a short amount of time. The Moon squaring Venus is maybe really thinking about, the people very close to you and what they have, and being a little envious of it. And almost like just try not to ride the wave of letting it get you down, or showing that jealousy, showing that envy, in bold ways. Don't start some narrative where you're in the dark, like plotting, like, how to take something from somebody. Those are really bad aspects of like what Scorpio energy could do. What we like to do when we're working with that energy is like, how can we transform ourselves to acquire the things that we want? And so that's going to be the deeper lesson, I feel like, this weekend, is seeing, these beautiful things around you, but they're not yours to claim. And being like, okay, but I could do that, or da 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 da. Doesn't mean it's right for you, but at least you know that there's not always one way of going about things, and try not to imitate other people just to get the same thing that they have. I would encourage against that. Try to find independence in these times. I know it's hard. And then let's see here. So then Sunday, we moved to Sunday. I think Sunday's a lot easier getting out of Friday and Saturday. I feel like that's been a theme in these weekend astrologies, has been Sundays tend to just like all of the tough aspects are kind of gone, or at least they're at bay for a second. And maybe that's because of the sun's energy, and the sun has been in very good positions lately. And it's the most powerful on Sunday. You know, like all of these planets actually have days of the week to where they have a boost of their own energy, and the sun's day is Sunday. Get it? Okay. So Sunday, yes, the moon will be sextiling Jupiter. Love that position. Jupiter amplifies, it grows things. And so moon is allowing us to become thankful. So if we look at this as a continuation, moving from that Scorpio envy to Jupiter is thankfulness, and appreciating what we do have. And it's not like getting down about not having it all or not achieving things. It's looking at things in a thoughtful and positive light. And so that makes us feel more full, more whole, like there's less missing. So that's nice. That comes in and really amplifies us on Sunday, so we can really feel a lot more at peace. And let's see, what else we got? Moon trine Neptune, which will also promote some emotional healing. So the moon will still be in Scorpio during all of this, but those are way more favorable placements to have. Sextiling Jupiter, trining Neptune. So that imitation, we distance ourselves from, we maybe even find some healing because we appreciate what we do have, and then that helps us move forward and makes us feel better about ourselves. And so there's almost this continuation I can see with the emotions that are going to occur this weekend. It's like being around people, first and foremost. Friday, Mercury, we have conversations, we learn a little bit about like what people are doing right now, and we recall that information later on Saturday, and then we kind of get a little jealous and like, oh my gosh, she had like this awesome haircut, or like they went out, for the weekend and did this thing, or da 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 da. And then we sit with that fixed Scorpio energy, that fixed emotion. And then, that kind of takes us into a dark place. And then when we get this Jupiter energy stepping in, then we're like, oh, you know what? But it's not for me. It's like, I'm my own person. Like, I don't need the things that other people have. I march to the beat to my own drummer. And, when I do look around me, like, there are things that I am glad that I have in my life right now. And so it's a really cool, like, almost continuation story that we can see this weekend happening. And yeah, so, and then we close off with Mercury squaring Pluto. So this is a reminder that, we still have a lot of learning to do. We are rewriting our stories. We're rewriting ourselves and how we process things and how we move through the world on a daily basis. That is still a big focus for us, is managing tasks and just, going to the grocery store and how much energy that can require, and making sure we get everything right, because those trips are a lot more dangerous now. You have to be a lot more safe and wearing masks, and just taking a jog in your neighborhood. You have to make sure you're avoiding people, and so we're still processing how to get around North Node of Mercury. And Mercury squaring Pluto is, still challenging us, but is also like challenging us to find solutions by almost observing others, that envy kind of thing. And so maybe there are solutions that people close to you have and that they're trying in their own lives that you're gonna be like, oh, I didn't think about that. Or, oh, okay. I'll consider it. It doesn't necessarily sound like me, but hey, if it helps you, stuff like that. And so it's a very thoughtful weekend. You know, again, these weekends haven't been the most enjoyable. They will probably continue to not be until we see some forward movement from these big planets. Luckily, Jupiter is the first one out, just like it usually is, promoting some sense of travel. Maybe even you're planning a vacation. So, you know, some good things there. But yeah, so try to find ways to enjoy this. You know, don't beat yourself up over not having things that look so good on other people, because it doesn't necessarily mean that they're right for you. And take care, you guys. And just a reminder, if you do want to contribute, check the link below and get your animal totem message card back. Really exciting. I love playing with that deck, and it tells me a lot about myself. The animals have like this almost double meaning to them that kind of accentuate the tarot card message itself. So fun things there. If you're not already following me on Instagram, I have free weekly tarot readings. They usually drop every Monday. And you know, really excited about that. And yeah, so come and find me and stay tuned for more.